Hi, I just started a new book this morning and I'm feeling super excited to share it with you guys. So the book that I just started reading is The Sun and the Starmaker by Griffin. And guys, I am already in love with this book. I'm currently at page 104. So we're following Aurora and she lives in this village that's located at the peak of the mountain. And the thing about this village is that sunlight is not able to reach them, so they're kind of living in darkness. However, the people are able to get sunlight from this figure called the Starmaker. There is a bit of an origin and lore story being told about this Starmaker in the book, so I'm not gonna go into detail because I want you guys to read it for yourself. So the Star Maker discovers that Aurora has magic in her, and so he brings her to his castle to teach her how to use her magic. This book is filled with such beautiful writing. It's giving a bit of a fairy tale vibe, a little bit similar to Uprooted by Naomi Novik. Uprooted feels a little bit more like a dark fairy tale, and this one feels a bit more like a light fairy tale. And it's also giving a little bit of House Moving Castle vibes. I'm really enjoying this book so far, and I cannot wait to dive more into it. Honestly, feel like I'm gonna fly through this book. Anyways, I'm gonna keep reading and I'll come back to give you guys another update. Hi, it's the next morning. I just woke up and just made my first cup of coffee for the day. I have now made it to page 232 in The Sun and the Star Maker. The relationship between Aurora and the Star Maker is giving me enemies to lovers vibes. They're not truly enemies, but Aurora doesn't really want to go to the castle and learn magic. She would rather be with her family because she cares a lot about them. Actually, Aurora and the Star Maker's bickering kind of reminds me of Anthony and Kate from the Bridgerton. Aurora did kind of irritate me a little bit with her actions and just the things she says. But at the same time, I kind of understand her frustration because she's worried for her family, so she would rather be with them than at the castle learning magic. But that's just a small thing. Overall, I'm very invested in these characters and their story. I feel a little like sense of looming dread and I'm kind of scared. I just want these characters to get their happy ending, and I feel like I might cry once we get to the ending. That shows you how much this story is affecting me. Also, the weather right now is gloomy and it's raining a little bit, so it's the perfect weather to be reading. I think I might be able to finish this book today, and I'm gonna come back to give you guys my final thoughts. It is late afternoon now, and I have finished reading The Sun and the Starmaker. The romance in this book is just so beautiful and sweet. I think the last time I experienced such a sweet romance was when I was reading While Reverence. And as I expected, I teared up a lot while reading this book because I was so emotionally attached to the characters and the story. I think this book and another of my recent read, The Swan's Daughter, both of these books are just perfect to read during this time, when it's late winter, early spring, because of the fairy tale vibes, and it just really fits the atmosphere right now. I really enjoyed and loved The Sun and the Star Maker, so highly recommend that you check this book out. I think for the next book that I'm gonna be reading in this video, I want something a little bit more fun. As much as I enjoyed The Sun and the Star Maker, it was a little bit emotionally draining. The next book that I'm gonna be reading is a fantasy romance, and this is Half City by Kate Golden. This is a recent release, and I have been seeing this book kind of floating around in the book space, and I see that a lot of fantasy romance readers enjoyed this book, so I want to give this a try. I believe there is a sort of like school or academic setting, so there are dark academia vibes, and the main character is a demon hunter, but I think she's gonna fall in love with a demon. Sounds like it's gonna be a fun time, so I'm gonna dive into this book today and then I'll come back to give you guys my first thoughts.
So it's actually 2 weeks later, and I did not do a very good job in reading Half City. I've made it to 13% so far. Let me give you a little bit more detail on what this book is about. So, our female main character, as I already mentioned, she is a demon hunter, and nobody knows that she's a demon hunter except for her father. So she kind of manifested her powers when she was young, and her father is also a demon hunter, so he taught her everything that he knows about demon hunting. And ever since her father died, she has been doing this demon hunting business on her own. So her mother is still alive and she has a sister, but they don't know that she's a demon hunter. She's also from like a special like bloodline or something, which makes her very like bloodthirsty, and she has to kill to like satisfy her hunger. Anyway, there is this secret academy school for demon hunters, and her father never told her about this school, so she was a bit suspicious when one of the instructors from the school invites her to attend the school. She attends the orientation, and that's where I stopped reading so far. I think if you're a fan of Fourth Wing, On Wings of Blood, and maybe even Silver Elite, you might like this book. It kind of goes through the same story progression where you have a female main character who is special, and then she attends a school academy. She goes through training and hone her skills and probably make some friends as well. And I do enjoy those plot. However, for some reason, I feel myself so uninterested in this book. Maybe I'm just not in the mood to read it right now. The female main character in this book, and also in all those other books I mentioned, Fourth Wing, On Wings of Blood, Silver Elite, the main character is a little bit of a pick me, a little bit like not like other girls. But I don't really mind that trope, but for some reason in this one, it kind of annoys me a little bit. And I did feel like this in Silver Elite as well. Like in the beginning of the book where the author is trying to like shove it in my face that the female main character is, special, not like other girls. In Silver Elite, after getting through the first couple of pages, I was able to kind of like break through that wall and not get irritated by the female main character. But in Half City, I feel like I'm still struggling with that. I can't break through that prejudice, and it's kind of turning me off towards this book and the character, and just find myself like not really wanting to continue the book. I mean, again, I could just be not in the mood for it since I did enjoy, those other books that I already mentioned with the same trope. So I think I'm gonna soft the end of this book for now, and maybe I'll try and pick it up again another time when I'm more in the mood for this kind of specific trope. On a more positive note, I did start another book yesterday and actually already finished it. And that book is This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Ilona Andrews. This is the first book in a new fantasy romance series, and this is actually an isekai fantasy. Isekai is the Japanese word for a subgenre in fantasy where the main character gets like transported or reincarnated in a new world. It could be a world from a book that the main character has read or a game that the main character has played. And in this book, our main character Maggie, she wakes up in the world of her favorite fantasy novel. And because Maggie has read the book, she knows all the major events that's gonna happen. She knows all these characters and what they're gonna do. So she uses that knowledge to help navigate her life in this new world. As a huge isekai fan, this book gets my stamp of approval. I think last year I tried one isekai book. I think the title is Long Live Evil. That one didn't really work for me, but this one did. So the author of this book is a husband and wife duo, and I don't know if they actually watch like isekai animes or read, isekai mangas or webtoons, but there are some references to common like isekai tropes. There is a shout out to Truck Gun because in most isekai stories, the main character gets hit by a truck and that's how they get transported into a different world. There is this running joke that the truck is sentient. One more common trope in isekai story is that you get a main character that is overpowered. So we get that in this one as well. Not only does Maggie have, all the knowledge about what's going to happen in the future, she also cannot be killed. And actually, the series name is called Maggie the Undying, so not a huge spoiler. The summary of the book doesn't really go into detail on the other characters or the setting or magic system in this book, so I'm not gonna touch on those things. I will say if you read high fantasy or adult fantasy and the romance tag is making you hesitate to pick up this book, don't hesitate because we barely get romance in this book. We spend more time in the plotting, scheming, and understanding, the magic system, the setting, the politics. I remember getting to 50% and there's still no sign of romance. So I guess I should also say for romantasy readers that if you come into this book expecting, fun, sexy time, you're gonna get zero of that. There is zero spice in this book. And the little romance that you get is just like heated stares, a bit of tension, like I want you, I trust you with my life, but I don't trust you with my heart. But that little bit of romance that we get, it worked for me. It hooked me, and I'm hoping to see more development in the second book. And because I read this in like one day and in one sitting, I feel like I'm gonna have to reread this book before the second book comes out. And now that I know what's gonna happen, I can focus more on the politics and understanding the world because I did feel myself rushing through the first book a little bit and I may have missed a lot of details just because I wanted to know what was gonna happen. I am very excited for the second book. Hopefully, it comes out next year. And I gave this book 5 stars.
I think this is a good place to end this reading vlog. Thank you guys so much for clicking on this video. I hope you enjoyed it and I will see you guys in the next one.